Hello and welcome to the channel Let's Automate. In this short video we're going to discuss about the new features in Automation Anywhere version 11.3.4, which is the latest version in the version 11 series. Stay tuned. So the first feature is the new option of parent task in attended runners. Please note this is only available for attended runner licenses. What this basically does is helps you browse through the clutter. So let's say I have three tasks here. Task 1, which says this is task 1. I have task 2, which says this is task number 2, and we have a master task which runs these tasks one by one. So let me give this a run. So this is a master board. I'll run task 1 now. You see this is the same message in task which was in task 1. It says it will run task 2 now, and we'll see this is task number 2. So now this is a very simple example where we have a master task and task 1 and task 2. In case you have multiple task files, ATMX files in a single folder where one file calls the other, and you do not really know which files is calling or which is the parent task. In these cases, this parent task option will be helpful. When you click on this, you see the only task board I see here is the master task. It does not show task 1 and task 2 because these are independent task files, whereas master task is the parent task. So I can download it from the control room. This is uploaded on the control room, or I can quickly give this a run. So you see we'll get the same result. It will run the task. It's going to run the task 1 now. You see task 1 file. It gives us a prompt for task 2, and we see task 2 file is running. The next feature that we're going to talk about is automatic bot update. To access this feature, you need to log into the control room as administrator and go to administration, settings, expand client application, and click on edit. The last option on this section is automatic updates, and you have an option to switch it on and off. When it's switched on, the client machine, the bots on the client machine will be automatically updated with the latest copy of the bot and its dependencies, which is uploaded on the control room. This is extremely important or extremely helpful in cases where you do not have a proper version control in place, and you have a constant communication between the development environment and test or production environment, where the developers can keep updating the bot onto the control room. And if you have this feature on, then you don't need to worry about downloading the most current version on your runner machines. So once you have selected this on or off, you can scroll up again and select save changes, and the changes will be automatically saved. The next feature that we're going to discuss about is a new option under email automation. So along with IMAP and POP3, which is the default options available for server type, we now have an additional option for Exchange web server, which supports from Exchange 2007 Service Pack 1 up till Exchange 2013 Service Pack 1. You can enter your username, password, and you need to provide an Exchange URL, and you'd be able to automate your mailbox, which might be hosted on an Exchange. Next feature that we're going to talk about is a new added feature under Terminal Emulator, which is search field. What this essentially does is during your session with any particular application which you connect using Terminal Emulator, you have an option to search for a field with a designated text, and it would return with either field index or field name. This feature was not available previously, and there were a lot of workarounds suggested and followed by a lot of developers. But with the addition of this new features, I think a lot of field related automation will be possible. The next feature that we're going to talk about is control room multi-factor authentication. To access this feature, you need to log into the control room as administrator, browse to administration, settings, and expand two-factor authentication. By default, this option will be enabled, I have disabled this for my control room, but you can enable or disable the multi-factor authentication from this settings. You can select the maximum number of token which is allowed per user and save the changes for it to take effect. The next feature is bot output. This is very similar to bot insight or the analytics option. So when you try and create a new variable, you have an option for include the variable in output along with log for analytics. Now those of you who use bot insight knows what this checkbox does, but if you select this one, include in the output, this particular variable will be stored in an encrypted manner on the control room, which can later be retrieved for reporting or dashboard purposes. To enable this option on the client, you first need to enable this on the control room. To enable this function, you need to access the control room as an admin. Go to settings, expand client application. Under API deployment configuration, you need to switch on the allow bot output option. This will allow you to capture or retrieve these variables via control room APIs. Let me show you how. The API which will be used for bot output extraction is bot execution orchestrator. Let me click on that, and the parameters will be activity and list. So once you feed in the filter criteria, the result would look something like this. So along with the details, the other details of the activity, you would also have bot variables. So here you have variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, and so on. So you have an option to extract all string, list, and array variables using this API. Until you extract these are stored on the control room data. The next feature that we're going to talk about is the Center of Excellence API, which is a part of Bot Insight API. You see here you have COE dashboard. This API is essentially for getting the information or fetching information for custom dashboard and custom reports. This is useful when you have multiple control rooms, or you have a third-party reporting or a dashboard or an analytics engine where you'd want to export data and feed it in for analytics or feed it for reporting. That's where this new API can be used for. Next up, probably the most discussed feature of this version is the license API. What this API does is essentially provides the information that you can see on your control room license page, which is the version, the dates, and the quantity or the count of licenses that you've purchased and used. This information can be accessed, and so most of the time where you need to set up an environment, or where you want to set up a third-party tool which can get the details of the licenses, that's where this API would come handy. Let me show you how you can access this. Here's the Swagger page for the license API. There are no special parameters, so all you need is your control room URL/license and a proper authorization token. So I've run this command for my control room, the one which we just saw on the other tab, and you can see it provides the license type as purchased, the installation date, the expiration date, the products which are included, and their version, which is analytics API and client. Then you have the control room version, and then you have the licenses. So bot creator, I have purchased 10 license and used 2 of them. The license type is floating. Then you have unattended bot runner, where I have a purchase count of 10 and I've used 1. Then the third license is attended bot runner, where I purchased 10 and I've used 1. You also have details for bot farm and your cognitive licenses like IQ bot pages and IQ bot runners. And the next feature, probably my favorite, is the option to export all items into CSV from the control room. Now this is applicable to any of the options which would usually allow you to extract data into CSV, like your devices, your audit logs, users, control room activities, and so on. So generally before this version you had an option to check and only export the items that you have checked, but now if you look at here, you have an option to export all. What this basically does is exports all the entities or all row items which are available in this particular window without having to use any filters, or without having to check box on one page and then go to the next page and check again to extract. There's one additional feature which we did not discuss because it relates to Active Directory authentication and domain selection. We do not have a domain on this computer, and that's why we're not able to show that here. But what the new feature allows us to do is set up a base domain, or set up a default domain where you want the users to log in, or where you want the users to authenticate themselves while using Automation Anywhere. You can set a particular domain as default. You can also hide them. You'll have more details on the release note. I'll put a link in the description. So there you have it. These are the new features available in the latest release of Automation Anywhere version 11.3.4. You can take a screenshot of this or make a note of this list of features. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, putting a like, or sharing the channel. Thank you.